Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only, Ray the Flying Squirrel here. And I'm Mighty the Armadillo here, welcome you all back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Returns for the Nintendo Wii, or if you guys playing Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D for the Nintendo 3DS, or something related to that. So last time, we have basically completed everything in the Ruins world, and it was overall pretty short, all things considered. So today, for this video, is that we're going to be moving on to, without a doubt, to me is one of the hardest worlds in the game, mainly because of the forms of this forced mechanic, not what appears to be by the forms of the cave. Now, as far as I'm aware, that the cave world is also going to be pretty short as well, if I'm assuming correctly, but before we get into that though, it feels like that particular weird tiki statue is watching over us while we're able to continue proceedings for this game. So either way, because yeah, as you can tell, we actually are on free look mode, and basically you're not able to actually look around in the entire island just by pressing the A button, and you simply move around, and that's all there is to it. So either way, so yeah, there's only quite a few levels in this point, so either way though, let's get this thing to it with the forms of World 4-1 Rickety Rails. So as far as I'm aware, each and every single level will force to able to go into ourselves the minecart levels, because as far as I'm aware, this does manage to take place in the cave. So either way, I apologize for that particular commentary, it feels a bit iffy at this point today. That's just because I got myself my dried throat. So hopefully by that time, once we finish this particular recording session, hopefully I'm also able to grab some of my drink, because as far as I'm aware, that eventually at this point it will get slowly approaching towards summer. So either way though, because after all, we're still in spring after all, so either way, and also I really love the actual transition between the forms of the ruins all the way up to the caves, because something tells me about the fact in the beginning portion of the level, as you can see, that basically we need to get to the other side, so that way we can able to activate the dynamite. So I think that could be representing about the fact that we can able to actually access the entrance to the cave itself. So either way, chances are we've already done that, so either way though, that's all there is to say. So either way, just want to make sure if I don't miss anything, so just to ensure about the fact that, well, potentially speaking, it's been about 3 days ago since we've actually last played this game, because as far as I'm aware, that despite the fact that Sonic was pretty much still ill at this rate, but hopefully he will be better by then, especially concerning about the fact that until specifically Saturday and Sunday, that hopefully he will be back onto more of the forms of Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2 exponentially. So either way, I just realized we're actually going to be standing onto the forms of the actual, the minecart itself this time. Okay, that seems a bit different, despite my timing of these little barrel countings is a bit, rubbish. But as a result, we have to start all over again. But regardless, we don't have to worry about trying to activate the dynamite thing again, because as you can tell, that the thing is saved as far as this is concerned. So either way, anyway, so a few things we want to explain for this point today, and that is that today's date, of course, there is the 8th of May today, in this case in 2023 today. Naturally speaking though, there are quite a few things we'd like to mention, although I think we should probably save that conversation once we get to the later portion of this world, because as you can tell about the fact, as I said this before, the main emphasis on this world, right here, the cave, obviously not only do you have to go through so many of those minecart segments, but also about the fact that I think, potentially speaking, that we'll come across into a rocket barrel segment from time to time. Yeah, because as far as I'm aware about the fact that we're going to be able to doing a lot of these stuff. Although, potentially after this world though, things get a little bit more of a normal, steadiness or anything else like that. So, even though it's a bit tricky to explain, because I know for a fact, as what Ray has already mentioned, it's been about 3 days ago since we've actually last played this game, so... And exponentially speaking, we've only just got about 4 days to go until The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is finally going to be releasing. So either way though, but that's for discussion at a later time, because as far as I'm aware, that there are some other topics we'd like to mention. So either way, and also we have to be fast on this part, because otherwise, if you dare fall off, then obviously you have to redo the entire segment again. So yeah, there's a lot of times about the fact that this is where the trial and error comes into play. well, specifically in this world in particular, because I will say this is by far the hardest world in the game in my opinion, especially concerning about the fact that there's a lot of do or die situations during the forms of the minecart segments, because again, if you get crushed by the forms of certain enemies and all that stuff, you lose a life instantly. And I think something tells me there's a... oh, I see something familiar down there, which is of course the barrel itself. So either way, that will pretty much lead us to the bonus area, of course. So either way, something's worth noting for as well, that for those of you who lived in the UK, well, Puss in Boots The Last Wish on DVD and Blu-ray has finally came out today for the UK countries, and also same applies with the 2 movie pack as well. Well, mind you, we've pretty much pre-ordered the forms of the 2 movie pack ever since during the forms of in March sometime. So either way though, at least I'm very happy to able to have both of those films all at once, especially concerning about the fact that, well, despite I'm not a big fan of the forms of that particular thinner DVD cases or somewhat, that's just because I might be biased when it comes to likely preferring the actual traditional style DVD cases back in the day. And I think something tells me we once again missing one last piece again. So that's pretty much the standard stuff for the most part, and okay, seems it doesn't seem to go too long as far as this is concerned, even though Mighty did somehow manage to once again did a motion mashing thingy right there, just in case they're able to grind for more banana coins, which, exponentially speaking though, that might be saying something, so... But, anywho, so, there's something worth noting for when it comes to that particular point, although I'll get to more details on that in a moment. So here we have World 4-2, Grip and Trip, as well as Bombs Away from the World 4-3. But of course, we'll start things off with World 4-2 first, because, you know, chronological order. So Grip and Trip. So I get the strong sense of feeling it's another one of those minecart levels as far as I'm aware. Because, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of it, though, for this world. But, exponentially, though, as far as what Mighty has already explained about this, is that, well, after this world, well, exponentially into whenever we get to the 5th world, it'll go back into its traditional style. So, either way, there's the first puzzle piece right there, so we know exactly what to expect. And I have no idea why I just jumped right at the actual thing right there. Although exponentially though, we pretty much almost at maximum of 99 lives, so we could expect about the fact that it'll make things a bit more generous with us. Especially noticeable concerning about the fact that you guaranteed able to get yourselves not only tons of bananas able to easily get up to 100, but also about the fact that you can potentially try to get the insane amounts of those banana coins as well. So either way, okay, so at least we got the K, so we pretty much gonna be alright with this. And there's a barrel right there, because I think something tells me it leads us to the bonus area or something, so... oh boy. Anyway, so on the subject for this matter though is about the fact I'm pretty certain that me and Mighty have both forgot to mention about during the course of the Super Mario All-Stars Let's Play, or potentially speaking any other Let's Plays for that matter, out of nowhere, that My Little Pony the movie, specifically the 2017 movie, has recently came up from the likes of Paramount Plus. So as a result, it did join alongside with the forms of Sonic the Hedgehog the movie and Sonic the Hedgehog 2 the movie, and that's pretty incredible, I must say. Especially concerning, despite we still haven't actually access to the forms of the actual Paramount Plus for our own time, because obviously about the fact that it does require some complications or anything else like that. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting to able to actually have, you know, both of our favorite movies enjoying the forms of in Paramount Plus at the moment. So, that should be all pretty swell as far as this is concerned. And on top of all that stuff though, speaking of Paramount, the one thing we didn't expect, there's going to be a new Smurfs movie is going to be on its way. Well, to be more specifically, it did manage to able to get an announcement teaser for it. Like, to be more specifically, it's going to be releasing until 2025. And as a result, it's going to call it The Smurfs at the moment, and it's going to be made by the forms of Paramount Pictures, alongside with the forms of Nickelodeon as well. So, I'm not exactly sure if I feel about it personally, because I'm never exactly a huge Smurfs fanatic, but I mean, relatively speaking though, it will be interesting to say the least, especially concerning about I missed a K. Oh, jeez. That was very unintentional, but at least we did somehow find ourselves the bonus barrel. So either way, that should be all good. Although, as soon as we finish up with this, then I think we're also able to take another death. Because seriously, there's going to be a lot of times about the fact that there's going to be a lot of dual die situations, especially with all that trial and error comes into play in this world. So, I can't really put my finger on it though, but I'm never really looking forward to this world, to be honest. Well, mind you, because of how the fact I believe Sonic did actually tell me something, that he did have a lot of PTSD about this world back in the day, especially concerning about the fact that he'd come across into a lot of deaths, well, not only on this version in particular, but also on the 3DS version as well. But at the very least on the 3DS version, there's that special item you can get. Well, to be more specifically, if you play the game on new mode, that way you can able to actually guarantee to get yourselves the a safety crash guard, which as a result, what that does is that if you ever get hit by any enemies or anything else like that, while you're in the forms of the minecart alongside with the actual rocket barrels, basically what that means is that, shoot, I missed that puzzle piece again. I suppose I might as well be back for that at the moment, but either way though, it's just, I'm just not really looking forward to this world, I must say. Alright, I think we should... there's a checkpoint right there! Dang, I think I accidentally slipped myself. Jeez, I have to go all the way back to the beginning again. Jeez. I was not expecting that. Anyway, because if you get crushed by the forms of any enemies while you're in the rocket barrels and also with the minecart, at least you get the invincibility frames after getting hit, while you do have your special item on the new mode on the 3DS version. So, and also, I think if I recall correctly, although it might not work, from the likes of another one of those cool items you can get, and that's what appears to be by the forms of the green balloons. And basically what the green balloons can do is that it can actually take you back up to the stage if you do fell off the level. So that'll be pretty interesting to say the least, even for newcomers who are able to experiencing this kind of stuff. But either way though, that's for discussion a later day. So either way, thankfully we've got the checkpoint right there, so yeah, it could be a lot worse if you do manage to die a lot, because I think something tells me something will happen if you do die a lot throughout the majority of the game so far. Please don't tell me it's going to be one of those super guide options is going to be available once you're able to die a lot. Yep, I believe something tells me it will happen, so... But at the very least we did able to get all the puzzle pieces now, so we don't have to necessarily worry about... I think something tells me there was going to be a G on the other side, isn't there? Yep, it is. So, we'll have able to fall to our death, and hopefully we're able to... really? Is that what you're on about? Yes, that's exactly what I was going to be thinking of. Basically, the pig just shows up while he's raising a flag, and then basically the plus button actually shows up. That if you accidentally press the plus button, basically you would able to activate the Super Kong mode. And basically though is about the fact that it's kind of like the Super Guide mode for the likes of the forms of not only New Super Mario Bros. Wii, but also with the Cosmic Guide in Super Mario Galaxy 2, then basically it just completes the level for you. And on top of that, if you do manage to able to let the Super Guide managed able to complete the level for you, rather than giving you a blue space or anything else like that, which represents you did manage to complete the level, so instead you get yourselves a red space, which it feels very similar to New Super Mario Bros. Wii, believe it or not. Especially that, unlike in Galaxy 2, that you get yourselves a bronze star instead of the regular golden power star. So yeah, it's gonna be one of those things that you come across into that situations, I guess. So in fact, kind of thinking about it, I'm not exactly sure how many times you die if you do activate the forms of Super Kong Guide mode, because as far as I'm aware, that I'm pretty much used to with the forms of the 3DS version for some reason. Like, if you die about 5 times as far as I'm aware, it does manage to show up the Super Kong Guide. And as far as I'm aware, it's gonna be like more than that on the Wii version or something. Mind you, it's been a very long time, so either way, thankfully the level's done. Yeah. Thankfully we've got some more bananas, and exponentially that we've pretty much had 99 lives or something. I can't really tell at this point, because I just want to get this level finished and over and done with, because that level's pretty tricky. I'm not gonna lie, it's actually pretty tricky. So either way, so before we move on to the next level, we need to go ahead and pay a visit to Cranky Kong here to once again brought ourselves the map key to be able to actually access the next level. So that should be all good, all things considered. So fundamentally though, that we've pretty much at the halfway point of this world already, so yeah, because you know, it's, you know, pretty short for this world. So anyway, World 4-3 Bombs Away. Not to be confused as Bombs Away minigame based off from Mario Party 1, Mario Party 2, and Mario Party the Top 100, and Superstars. So, with the fonts the same name of the title, but either way, that's all I can really say about this for the most part. So, and oh boy, it's another minecart level, except that we actually taking a ride on the minecart instead of like, you know, jumping in midair and all that stuff though. So, oh, something tells me we need to avoid a lot of those sharpie crystals as far as you can see. And on top of that, even mole cards as well. So either way, oh jeez, it's gonna be a little bit exhilarating, but at the same time it can be a bit nerve-wracking at points, especially I've got myself the O right there, and I missed that puzzle piece right there. But exponentially though, I'm sure we'll be back for that in a moment. So, I missed my timing jump! Well, I suppose that doesn't matter, because obviously we've got so many extra lives right now, so we don't have to necessarily worry about getting the game over at one point. Although if you do manage to play 2-player mode, then you have to take away 2 lives if you somehow, you know, die in the level. So yeah, I was gonna have to mainly focus on this. Yeah, anyway, something's worth noting for as well, that basically, there was actually that particular point where basically, you remember how the fact that we still pretty much ignoring the actual leaks in Journey forms of the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, as it turns out about the fact that Nintendo is actually destroying Tears of the Kingdom leakers right now, which I guess that's a good thing, especially concerning about the fact that we don't want to get it too spoiled heavy. So because of that though, we appreciate about the fact that we can pretty much guarantee we don't have to worry about leakers for the time being, because as far as I'm aware, they popped up a lot on several websites, or potentially speaking with Twitch, or Twitter, or YouTube for that matter. So seriously, it's outrageous, you know, with all that leakers and all that stuff though. I mean, I guess I had a very strong sense of feeling it's gonna continue that tradition in the future times to come. Oh, come on! But at least on the upside, I did somehow manage to obtain quite a few puzzle pieces here and there, so yeah, there's just only one left, and unfortunately I have to re-grab that N again, so ay ay ay. So anywho, as far as I'm aware also is that potentially speaking, that recently during the events of the past few days ago, basically, you know what that particular new Splatfest has been? Oh! God dang it! That jump is a bit too fickle for me. Oh jeez, I had to get used to with the events that specific jumps I have to cooperate with it. Especially, no matter what though, the last time we actually experienced any minecart levels in this game so far, which appears to be back in World 1, which, by the looks of all that stuff though, it's been a very, very long while, hasn't it? Especially concerning about the fact that, although potentially speaking, I think it's about a week ago since we've actually last experienced a minecart level like this, especially concerning about the fact that, again, as I mentioned earlier, it does manage to take place in the first world. So either way, let's grab the G, and I think the last puzzle pieces should be around by the end of the level, although I may be wrong. But either way, wait a minute, I feel like, oh, there is something in here. Oh, thank goodness for that, because otherwise, if we miss that puzzle piece again, that will be a total disaster for my part. So, Anywho though, when it comes to the Splatfest, there's already been happened during the forms of about a few days ago, or potentially speaking since during the forms have been yesterday. Well, today we actually got the results of the forms of the Splatfest thing, based off from the likes of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom's release, and by that time about the fact that, well, the results are in, and the winner is the Trifles of Power, which as a result, it did receive about 57 P, at least as far as I'm aware, because as far as I'm aware, Team Power wins, and then as far as I'm aware, none of those points do actually give it to the forms of Wisdom and Courage for whatever reason. I'm not exactly sure how though, but either way though, that might be some consumption, so... Anyway, so now it does it for that level, so now it's going to move on to the next level, which is World 4-4 Mole Patrol. So I think something tells me we have to come across into a lot of mole-like enemies in this level, so... Yeah, that basically explains how that we will come across into a lot of moles, so... But of course, we do need to have Diddy Kong with us eventually. But first, we have a bonus area right at the beginning of the level, so shouldn't be too hard able to come across into that, especially concerning about the fact that, well, we know exactly what to do for this point, so... Anywho, so a few things I want to explain also is that recently, speaking of The Legend of Zelda related, we somehow managed to get ourselves our next GameCube game. That's what appears to be The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition. So yeah, we finally managed able to get ourselves the Zelda compilation game. Because it's weird that Nintendo never actually bring any Zelda compilation games since on the GameCube days. Because as a result that we did somehow finally get ourselves The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition just recently for the Nintendo GameCube, and all in all, I think it's quite worth it in the end, especially concerning about the fact that, well, despite that we've already got all of these games basically, similar to the forms of how it does in Mario compilation games, or heck, even with the forms of the Metroid Prime Trilogy compilation, and heck, even with the forms of Kirby's Dream Collection as well, that, basically, though, the actual compilation of The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition contains 4 games, including the special demo of the likes of The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, specifically the 20-minute demo, and on top of all that stuff though is about the fact that it does contain Zelda 1 and Zelda 2, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. And the only game exception to this though, and that's what appears to be A Link to the Past or something, so I felt incredibly bad for the fact that that particular game was not in that particular compilation, but either way though, it knows what it is, I guess. Especially concerning about the fact that The Legend of Zelda The Legend of Zelda Collector's Edition is going to be turning to 20 this year, which, back in the day, I believe on the European version of the forms of Mario Kart Double Dash, I believe you get yourselves a special bundle with, well, aside from the GameCube itself or something, well, mind you about the fact that it's been a very long while since I actually mentioned something related to that, so maybe that's for discussion in a later day, and once again, we're missing one puzzle piece. Okay. At least we did somehow manage to get this level on the first attempt, so that should be all good. Especially that, as you can tell, we've now stumbled across into ourselves the returning rocket barrel, as you can tell, ever since on the second world. So either way, that pretty much leads us to the boss straight away, but we're not going to do that yet. So instead, we'll head over to the next level, which is World 4-5 Crowded Cavern. Oh boy, this level right here. I think the ending portion is going to be the most atrocious thing to encounter, but that's for discussion for later. So either way, I believe something tells me there's another one of those rocket barrel stages as far as I'm aware, and that's what I can say about it. So there's nothing in here, so what's the point of checking in here in the first place? So... oh jeez, that thing decides to crumble! And I believe there's a bonus area right over there as well, so either way, shouldn't be too hard to find, even though it will be pretty well hidden if you managed able to know exactly what that is though, so... Anyway, so... I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this as well, that do you guys even remember back then that we did say that we no longer have ourselves the Simpsons game on the Nintendo Wii version due to the forms of not only for its forced motion controls for certain actions, But also, what I've noticed is that the visuals look a bit rough around the edges on the Wii version of the game, because it's almost like the SD version of the game. Because as it turns out about the fact I did manage to discover that during the films of the actual comparison video compilations as far as I'm concerned. Well, as it turns out that recently we've somehow managed to, although originally I was expecting to try to get myself the PlayStation 3 version of the Simpsons game, but as it turns out we instead get ourselves the Xbox 360 version of the game instead. Not only because the visuals looks a lot better than the forms of how it does it on the SD versions, but it's also about the fact that I think the Xbox 360 control handle pretty natural for the game. Especially concerning that unlike the Wii Remote and Nunchuck combo, it's fine for what it is, but it's just that, as I mentioned this before, it has a lot of emphasis on motion controls on that version of the game. But that's just me. And on top of that, some of these visuals look a bit weird, especially if you ever played the SD version of— ah, dang it! Well, whatever. At least we got the checkpoint already, so I might be alright with this. So, yeah, anywho though, and when it comes to the subject of the forms of certain other topics worth noting for, sadly we no longer have ourselves the forms of not only the GameCube version of Rayman 3, but also we no longer have ourselves Soul Calibur 2, which is a bit of a shame honestly, because I was really looking forward to able to try the game out, but as it turns out about the fact that I'm not exactly a huge master of the forms of the Soul Calibur series as far as I'm aware. Unlike something related to the forms of Super Smash Bros., I think that was the only fighting game I was pretty good at. But as a result of that kind of stuff though, at least I'll give the Soul Calibur series some credit for, is that it has some very, very epic atmosphere soundtrack as far as I'm concerned. Oh god, the ending section on this level right here is going to be a bane of my existence. Especially as you can see, we're getting chased by the forms of this very weird bat-like creature, and it's your chance to able to dodge his attacks, because again, if you get crushed by any of his attacks, you have to go all the way back to the beginning of the segment, and because of this though, this is by far the hardest and also the most nerve-wracking experience I've ever encountered in a 2D platformer. Especially if you managed able to come across into this segment for the first time, good luck. Especially because the actual pattern of the forms of those projectiles are completely random, but if you dodge well enough with his attacks, as you can tell, then he activates the forms of somewhat of a beam attack, and then that was it basically. So either way, I did surprisingly manage to able to do this on the second attempt, surprisingly, so— okay, some more bananas, that should be alright, because now we're back on to 99 lives, so that's all for that one. Yeah, so once again we're missing one puzzle piece again. Son of a biscuit! Oh jeez, those pieces are very well hidden in some scenarios. Anyway, so before we get into the temple level, we need to head back into not 1, but 3 levels to find the remaining pieces, so I'll meet you guys back. Alright, if I recall correctly, this level is going to be appearing at the beginning portion of the level. Yep, I would have known and guessed that. Alright, let's move on to the next one, which appears to be Mole Patrol. Alright, so it's gonna be something to do with like popping all these balloons where the moles are. Like 4 of them to be exact. I would have thought so. And finally we get into that particular nerve-wracking level again. And if I was assuming correctly, it's gonna be at the beginning portion of the level. And taking notes from Sonic 3, jump off the bridge, and there it is right there. Jeez. I'm so sick of the forms of how the fact that the game doesn't tell me of where the puzzle pieces are. And unfortunately though, we've lost Diddy Kong in the process, because the ending portion is pretty hard, I'm not gonna lie. But either way, now we're going for that out of the way, so now let's go ahead and move on to the temple level in this world, and that is Jagged Jewels. I believe something tells me we will come across into a lot of those sharpie jewels that we have to avoid. And if I'm assuming correctly, that this level will bring a DK barrel, so I'm hoping that might be the case, because as far as I'm aware, yep, it does get straight to the point. So, anyway though, Something's also worth noting for is that, potentially speaking though, that, oh jeez, that was awfully close. But, hey, at least on the upside is though, that's what Diddy Kong decides to come into play, specifically in this stage. So, either way, let's just go ahead and wait until we've, walked past them. So, and there's a puzzle piece right there, so, thankfully, the actual puzzle pieces on these temple levels are very self-explanatory and simple and straightforward, so that seems the case. So, oh yeah, supposedly enough, about the fact that there are some pretty good stuff as far as this is concerned that is actually potentially happening. Did you guys know about the fact that, speaking of something related to My Little Pony, specifically the 4th generation of all things, as it turns out, well, I've noticed something that basically they actually contains a special carousel based off on the forms of the 4th generation, but only in China only. Especially concerning about the fact that what if I first looked at it though, I did not know that existence. And as a result, no wonder why we have never actually got that carousel in our country, or even America as a result. So either way though, because straight to the point about the fact that we still on the forms of, in my opinion, is a bit underwhelming generation in my opinion, which is G5. But it's just about the fact that I might be biased when it comes to like preferring, you know, fantasy and adventurous kind of filled, inspired. But either way though, that's just the way I feel about it. And on top of all that stuff though, another good news we'd like to discuss upon is that you guys even remember that particular atrocious haters? Well, at least to be more specifically, when it comes to the forms of the most hated shows of all time, which appears to be Teen Titans Go. Well, as it turns out, that the actual series is going to be ending until this year, to be more specifically in this month, which appears to be on May the 19th of 2023. I know for a fact that the series has been out for a very long time, since roughly 10 years or anything else like that, during the forms of just recently. So either way though, what that means is time to able to say goodbye to the most overrated rebooted series. As far as I'm concerned, well, at least the movie is alright and such, but aside from all that stuff though, the major series, Teen Titans Go, well, I can totally see why a lot of people seem to despise the actual reboot series of Teen Titans and stuff like that. Well, mind you about the fact that it's gone on for about 8 seasons as far as this is concerned, and on top of that it did show us the number of episodes, like 400, which is double compared to the forms of how it does it on Friendship is Magic for whatever reason. Well, I can assure you about the fact that, well, even though, mind you, we haven't exactly watched the rest of the forms of the Teen Titans Go you know, cartoon series, because, you know, I've heard so many negative feelings about this particular series, especially concerning about the fact that it's made on a cheap, or just because I might be biased when it comes to likely some other stuff worth noting for. So anywho though, so yeah, and there's also another thing I would like to mention is that, potentially speaking, that when it comes to the forms of the reviews of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is actually doing quite well, especially compared to the forms of how it does in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, because I feel like the reviews of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is quite understandable. Well, at least as far as I've noticed something like this. Mind you, I found the film pretty mediocre, but as far as I'm aware though, that's just the way I feel about it. So as a result, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 does manage to receive some high praise for its reviews departments. So as a result, it did receive 80% in Rotten Tomatoes, and as far as audience scores is concerned, it's like the exact same score as the forms of how it does in the Super Mario Bros. Movie for its audience score rating. So as a result, it's 96%, so almost 100. So even then though, it's actually doing pretty well. And as far as I'm aware, that the box office is actually doing quite well for starters, but eventually it will start to increase later on. So either way though, speaking of the box office related kind of thing, basically the Super Mario Bros. Movie has eventually become, you know, now onto $1.1 billion worldwide. So yeah, that's actually pretty good. So either way, that'll be discussion for a later time, because for now, let's take on the next boss in the game, which is the Mole Train. Oh jeez, the Mole Train. I believe something tells me about the fact that we need to able to, well, let's just say catch a ride on the forms of that particular minecart or something, but getting started. So either way, I guess there's nothing else to tell at this point, so... Okay, so let's get to it with the Mole Train boss fight, and basically all you have to do, in the beginning portion, you stand on the forms of one of those mine carts. I don't know what you explain about this, because again, it's been about, you know, 3 days ago since we've last played this, so exponentially we do need to dodge a lot of those pickaxes as far as that particular mole's gonna try to toss at us. So once you make your way to this particular point right there, then don't fall off, because obviously you have to start all over again in this entire fight. And basically all you have to do in this part right here is the fact that we need to bonk several of those moles' heads. Then if you do that, chances are you move on to the next phase. So either way though, that's as far as I can usually explain about this boss fight in particular. So either way, but again, if you fall off, you have to start all over again. And keep that in mind though about the fact that I don't think that it does contain any of those respawn points or anything else like that. So, although fundamentally, oh jeez, there was a bomb right there. I totally forgot about that. Because I know for a fact that in World 3's boss fight also utilizes bombs as well, but that's not the case for this particular point where it comes to likely, well, again, it's a bit tricky to explain, so... unfortunately, we've lost Diddy Kong on that part, so we have to do this with our hardest method by simply using Donkey Kong himself. So, and once you pretty much bonk quite a few of those moles' heads, as far as you can definitely tell, basically you have to pay attention to the forms of that blue spark visual effect with all these little carts and such, because basically if one of those little carts decides to fall off, and basically if one of those blue sparks isn't visible in one of them, basically it's your chance to able to stand on one of those little train carts as far as this is concerned. So just to ensure that you will be safe, especially concerning about the fact that you don't have to necessarily worry about falling off too much, so, but either way though, that might be saying something, so. And unfortunately though, much like the Evolve Value does on the previous videos as far as this is concerned, unfortunately though, our computer just keeps lagging again. So, yeah, we seriously really need to fix that at some point, especially concerning about the fact that I'm guessing it's because we had too much programs right now, especially concerning about the fact that we've been a lot of busy lately, or should I say we've been pretty busy recently, so either way. Again, I will admit that I apologize for my commentary is a bit iffy at points today, so either way. And as it turns out, what I've noticed something is that apparently a lot of those subscribers out there managed able to enjoy our Let's Plays of not only Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe, but also with the forms of Donkey Kong Country Returns as well. Yeah, I can imagine for saying this, because after all, for those who have missed those days, where you were able to actually get this game on the Wii U, because, yeah... Oh, no! Oh, dang it! I did not expect to see how the fact I died when that particular conductor, Mo, just somehow pop out of nowhere for one of those minecarts. You know what that means? We have to go all the way back to the beginning, so I wasn't too fond about the forms of lost of progression, so... Anyway. But, I think I will say that this boss is kind of challenging compared to the forms of how it does it on any other bosses in the game so far. Well, mind you, about the fact that we haven't exactly gone into the 5th world, or the 6th world, or the 7th world either, and even especially noticeable the final one as well. But either way though, that'll be discussion for the later day, especially because concerning about the fact that at this point in time, that we've almost naturally only fallen to the halfway point in terms of May, so And we still have not exactly sure what's going to be up next for the sake of the big Nintendo Switch's releases. Because as far as I'm aware, aside from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is approaching on this Friday, and potentially speaking also, during the Forms event tomorrow, that Dokapon Kingdom Connect is going to be releasing on the Nintendo Switch and during at some point tomorrow. For, I would say, in North America, alongside with the Forms of the European countries as well. Although, I think relatively speaking, the digital version of the game already came out just recently, so I think that's as far as I can think about it, so either way. And on top of all that stuff though, is about the fact that there's one thing I will mention about this right now, that I believe, speaking of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, is that I think they're about to be able to release on digitally until the May 16th, so that should be about next week or so? Yeah, I think according to what it says, next week, so yeah, it shouldn't take too long, all things considered, especially because, well, I can assure you a lot of people are very excited able to actually watch the film on demand, so as a result, well, exponentially until the DVD and Blu-ray release, it will be expected to still be releasing at some point during the summer. Well, again, we're not exactly sure what month is it going to be, but my guess it will be sometime in June or July, so I think I pretty much explained all of that particular stuff for right now. Although I would have liked able to explain other details as well, but that'll be a discussion until whenever we get to, like, maybe potentially until the next world, or perhaps even maybe Tiana will able to mention tons of stuff during Forms of Metroid Fusion Let's Play once she's gonna go back into it, especially that, well, you probably already know about the fact that she's already done the arena mode from the likes of the forms of Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe recently. So exponentially though, that she will be definitely coming back onto the forms of Metroid Fusion during at some point in tomorrow, and also same applies to Thursday as well. So either way though, I think that's as far as I can say about this for this point, especially that thankfully we did somehow manage to finally defeat the boss within the second attempt now, so gee, we almost gonna fall off to death for somehow. But either way though, and sure enough, one of the Tikis is actually getting dizzied and such. And now we can finish him off. Booyah! Nice. So let's see how many hits we hit him. It could be 22 again. Yep, 22 again. Jeez, we haven't got up to like 23 or higher. I'm guessing because our motion mashing isn't exactly the most relevant thing in the world, but it does its job done. So either way, the cave world is finally concluded. Oh jeez, I don't have to touch that world ever again, I must be quite frank, because this world is pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie. So with that being said though, we got the endings off here, so join us next time for more of Let's Play of Donkey Kong Country Returns. Instead we're going to be moving on to the fifth world, which is Forest. And as far as I'm aware, the later worlds might get a bit longer, so I think we'll divide the world into two parts. So I'll see you guys until on Wednesday. Later dudes, see you guys then.